Good evening and welcome to Christians Aren't Sheep. This is where the eagles come, spread their wings, meditate on God's Word for a few minutes. My name is Ron, I'm your host. And I really do enjoy sharing a daily devotional with you. We are going to conclude the story of Esther tonight. It's been a pretty exciting story. So last night, Haman was all excited about being at the Queen's banquet. And then all of a sudden the king honors Mordecai and makes Haman do all the embellishment of the honoring. Let's get into it. While they were still talking, the king's eunuchs arrived and quickly took Haman to the banquet Esther had prepared. So this is chapter 7 now. So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. On this second occasion, while they were drinking wine, the king again said to Esther, "Tell me what you want, Queen Esther. What is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half the kingdom." Queen Esther replied, "If I have found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my request, I ask that my life and the lives of my people will be spared. For my people and I have been sold to those who would kill, slaughter, and annihilate us. If we had merely been sold as slaves, I could remain quiet, for that would be too trivial a matter to warrant disturbing the king." "Who would do such a thing?" King Xerxes demanded. "Who would be so presumptuous as to touch you?" Esther replied, "This wicked Haman is our adversary and our enemy." Haman grew pale with fright before the king and queen. Then the king jumped to his feet in a rage and went out into the palace garden. Haman, however, stayed behind to plead for his life with Queen Esther, for he knew that the king intended to kill him. In despair, he fell on the couch where Queen Esther was reclining, just as the king was returning from the palace garden. The king exclaimed, "Will you even assault the queen right here in the palace, before my very eyes?" And as soon as the king spoke, his attendants covered Haman's face, signaling his doom. Then Harbona, one of the king's eunuchs, said, "Haman has set up a sharpened pole that stands 75 feet tall in his own courtyard. He intended to use it to impale Mordecai, the man who saved the king from assassination. Then impale Haman on it," the king ordered. So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's anger subsided. It's not the way things Haman thought they'd work out. And there's just a little more reading to go in the book of Esther. And it ends this way. The king imposed a tribute throughout his empire, even to the distant coastlands. His great achievements and the full account of the greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted and recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Media and Persia. Mordecai the Jew became the prime minister with authority next to that of the king himself. He was very great among the Jews, who held him in high esteem because he continued to work for the good of his people and to speak up for the welfare of all their descendants. Very cool story. Something to meditate on, I do believe, is the way Queen Esther approaches her request to the king. Being very, very polite, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very honoring of the king. All she was asking for was to save their lives. She says if it was just they were being sold into slavery, that would be too trivial a deal to come to the king with. Does that tell us anything about how our relationship to God should be? I don't know. You think about that and you let me know. You all have a great night, God willing. We will see you tomorrow. Psalm 130, verse 5. I wait upon the Lord. My soul waits, and in his word I hope.